Hi everyone, and welcome back to ChompCast.
As always, I'm Jordan Ricco.
I'm Grace Peters.
I'm Adam Krasnow.
And I'm Rafe Khan.
We have a very exciting episode for you today.
Today's guest is David Capablanca.
David is an architect by trade turned into a serial short investor. He is also the founder of the Friendly Bear podcast and a UF alum. We look forward for you to meet him today. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Mr. Capablanca. We want to give our viewers more insight about your background from your perspective. So to start off, can you begin by sharing your story?
Okay, yeah, so I'm David Capablanca. I went to school here. I'm originally from Miami, and I came to school here, and I graduated from here in 2009. And those were the years of the Tim Tebow era.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly. And also the basketball team, led by Joe Noah and all that. So, when I finished here, architecture undergrad, I went to UCLA for my master's. And the first quarter there, it's the same thing as semesters, but over there it's called quarters.
Right.
I had a brain tumor. I had a lot of symptoms, and I went to the hospital. They checked it out. It was a brain tumor. So the brain tumor had to get operated. And then after the operation, I had to recover for like 2 years. So my grad school got extended. It was like 3 years. It became like 6 years almost. And 5 years and more than 5 years. So that meant a lot of student debt.
Right.
A lot of student debt. Especially initially, I was out of state. So out of state with the architecture masters, they tag a lot of like professional fees, and LA in general is high cost of living. Los Angeles. So with that, in 2016, I graduated and I worked in an architecture firm for about a year, or almost a year. And I was working towards my license. So check this out, with architecture, it's a beautiful career, but you gotta do a bachelor's, and you gotta get a master's, and you have to get a license.
License afterwards.
Yeah. So it's a
Lots of
long,
steps.
so, I was in my early 30s, 32 years old, as a junior architect working towards my license. And the license is actually, as you're working in the professional field, it's not as creative like in school. So like I was doing like parking lots, staircases, bathrooms, accumulating points to take the exam. So it was just like, then the student loans started coming due. That you had to start getting the bills. After 6 months of school, you start getting the bills. And I was like, okay, I was just overwhelmed, and I felt like defeated because I did like my very best in school, and like it just like now I'm digging myself out of this hole. And I was like, with architecture, I guess I'll just have to accept that I'm always going to be in debt until retirement. And I was like, man, so the thing is, going back to the brain tumor thing, that doctor at one point, when I first got out of the anesthesia, I was like in a coma. The anesthesia, I remember him yelling at my mom. They were arguing, and the doctor said, I just gave your son 50 more years of life. Wow. And he's gonna be okay. He's just 50 more years. So I was thinking back then, like, damn, 50 more years, I'm 25, so that means 2 more times of 25 is what I got left. And I was on drugs and stuff, recovery, so I wasn't thinking that clearly. Actually, I can live way more than 50 years.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's just like, let me take care of yourself and stuff.
Right.
So, but at the time, it was like really, that's what I was thinking. And I've always had, so that right there, I go back to that because that brought like the sense of urgency also, all the time. And I still have that with me all the time. It's like this really sense of urgency. I gotta get this done. I gotta hurry up, get things done. So like when I graduated in 2016, and that just didn't work for me about like accepting the debt until I retired. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And both of my parents, my mom came from Cuba, my father from Iran, and they made something of themselves, middle class, like they went to college. And I was like, they came from circumstances that were way worse than mine. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna just accept this debt. I'm gonna do something about it. So I decided, something, even though it was painful just to leave a whole career that I loved architecture. I still love architecture. I'm at UF right now on Sunday. I'm going to be part of some panels in the architecture projects and stuff. Yeah. So I love architecture,
Right.
but I had to just put it aside and just completely leave it for a while I started looking into high income skills. So I looked into several high income skills. One was real estate, and then as you go down the rabbit hole, you're looking constantly high income skills. Like these days we have algorithms on the social media that'll push things out to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if the algorithms were like that back then, 2016. But like I got fed to me like investment stuff, stocks and all that. And I started looking into it, and I thought to myself, okay, if I approach this like I did architecture school with rigor and discipline and and study and treat it like a true profession, I think it's real. It's just people, they disrespect it, they gamble, or they think that they can make money right away. The architecture school, you go to school for 10 years, you're not making any money. You're losing money because you're in debt. Or like medical or law or whatever field. When anyone in UF, people aren't making money while they study.
Right.
So like why with stocks or stock trading, people want to make money right away. It doesn't make any sense. In 2-3 months, you want to make so much money, but if you go to college for 4 years, you don't make any money. So like,
you have to still put the time in.
Yeah, you got to put the time in. So what you guys are doing here is putting your 4 years in. That's about like 5,000 hours or something like that. That's and then you do a master's or something if you want. PhD, you get to that 10,000 hour mark or internship, but whatever field you do, 10,000 hours in. Now you're a pro in that field. So that's what I did. What I was doing, 2016, I was like, okay, I need to get my 10,000 hours in on stocks, and I'm just gonna do that. So I put architecture aside. I left a career. I started driving Uber and like tutoring. I started mostly tutoring. Tutoring kids in math and science for a few hours a week to pay my bills and just like have enough time to study. So I just focused my study, anything I could get my hands on. And then I rented a shared office space in like a WeWork kind of. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Like a shared office.
Like an incubator type.
Yeah, like that.
Different
Exactly,
offices.
exactly. And for $200 a month. And so I was doing. I got this shared office so I could study just like in architecture school. We had a studio, and I would just do the projects in the studio.
Totally. So
here I was like envisioning myself like I was back in UF in the studio, but now I need a place like that I can study stocks, like a little lab.
Yeah.
And that was the shared office. And the shared office, there were startups in there. They kind of didn't know what I was doing. I would tell them I'm an architect. I'm working on some drawings, but I was not working on drawings. I was studying stocks.
Right.
So I did that from 2017-ish to 2020. No money, but I'm on my path.
Wow.
I paid down like my credit card debt. I still had student debt, but I was paying down bills. I was working my way up and studying, and I was going somewhere. I felt no one I didn't have any. I shunned myself out from the world though. No one knew what I was up to. My architecture colleagues or anything, they didn't know I was doing this. But 2020, market, a lot of uncertainty in the air, the pandemic. And I was prepared. I made my first 6 figures during that time, and I've grown ever since. And then 2021, I go to Puerto Rico for a year or so and learn some more. So it's always about reinvesting in yourself, I ran it like a business. It's like whenever I made a certain amount of money, like 10-15%, I put it back into myself, business, into education, and I just into networking, into conferences and stuff, And there we go. And then I eventually 2021 also I started a podcast, and the podcast I got to network even more. So it's not just entertainment you guys are doing with podcasts. It's like you're really getting to network. Yeah, so
That's true.
When you have like an hour or 2-hour conversation with someone, you get to know them on a real level. So it's a really good. So I did that 1,000 times.
Right.
So and then you learn also. So then I just kept growing from there. I have my own office now in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
A studio there in Los Angeles. at Friendly Bear University. I teach others now. I do conferences. I connect with as much as I can with like, because those years that I disconnected from the world, I'm making up for those years now.
I love that.
Coming back and hey guys, I'm here. I'm a hater, So
Perfect.
So,
we're happy you're
yeah.
here. No, we're happy you're here, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel like I know that's like an introduction, but it tells so much to our college audience that you don't have to have it all figured out right away, and that life is uncertain, and that you don't have to just walk out of your degree and being like, okay, this is the number one thing that I'm doing. But the way that you were able to take life's challenges, pivot on them, and be able to put the time in and work for something and have those goals is so inspiring, first off. So I know that you spoke about when 2020 hit was when you first started, making money. You put all this time in and the background, the education behind it, and now you're ready to start, working the stock market and doing that. So is there one trade you made really early on that opened your eyes to future opportunities where you're like, this is my time, it's time to go?
yeah, this was before 2020. There was a stock, what's this here? PRED, Pred, predictive technology. And this was one where like I didn't even have a fully funded account. I wasn't really trading much, a couple $100 here and there, just testing things out. And PRED was a pure scam. So what I do is short sell. I like uncovering scams, and that's a big foundation of mine. Just like it begins the thesis of a lot of like what I'm gonna trade. Like it's a scam. Okay, I can start with that. Now I can plan accordingly. So, but a PRED was a scam, and I was a newbie in the markets, right? I was studying, putting in a lot of hours in. I'll say like my first year, and I knew about short selling. I decided I want to do it, and I was just learning everything about it. And then as I was learning everything about it, I got to see it all play out in real life. Like, okay, the CEO of this company is a sketchy dude. He has a sketchy history. He's taking photos, like photo ops, and those one timeless scam is like the guy that went to Picasso when he was older in life, and he took a photo next to him, and then he forged a painting and said, "Hey, look, guys, I was with, this is like a certificate of authenticity,
Right.
but it's not real. It's a fake, So they do that in the stock market. Human beings, it's human nature. It resurfaces in different ways, So the CEO would he have like a history with other sketchy people, and they'll go pose next to like a celebrity. Like, you guys know Larry King?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go post next to Larry King.
Wow.
Like Larry King has credibility. Larry King has a reputation, so like they want a piece of that.
Right.
So it's like the same. Then I would say, wow, look, so he has a photo with Larry King. Like he's taking a photo at the New York Stock Exchange because the stock was like an OTC stock. OTC is like a level beneath the New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq. It's a really sketchy place. But if you take a photo at if the CEO goes to the New York Stock Exchange, takes a photo there, people get excited. Oh, it's gonna go on the New York Stock Exchange.
It legitimizes it.
Yes, and then it starts causing hype, and the stock starts moving. So when I started to see this, I was like, oh, so this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all just like the classic scam. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street movie.
It's like a whole other side of it,
And then I started to dig into it and get into it. It's like, when you start to do something and you want to become good at it, you can't just do it like for the money or for this. You have to have like a drive.
Totally.
So this drove me like to uncover the scam and to and I'm doing the right thing. This is the bad guy and I'm the good guy. So and then I used to go on the message board and get obsessed with it and type on this message board. This guy's a scammer, blah blah blah. And I would go like 800 words, 1,000 words without no one telling me what to do. Me going into SEC filings and doing all this, and like that was my way of learning, So now I'm becoming somewhat of I'm like an expert at SEC filings because I have this drive to uncover this thing,
right,
and then expose it like on my own little way in my message board or whatever. But I'm learning this. I'm an autodidact. That's what I'm doing. And then and I got the attention at the time. Little brief attention, not too much, but from a short report firm if you guys are familiar with Hindenburg Research, for example, firm. The guy, the CEO of it, Nate, was a smaller player back then. And he reached out to me and said, wow, you uncovered what I did. Oh, we started bouncing ideas online.
I love that.
And so for me, that was a big deal for me at the time, even though I wasn't making any money. It's like, wow, this is for real. I felt like a real player in the game, even though I wasn't really doing much, you know. So, but like that encouraged me to keep going, and then to keep pushing. Because like when you're not making any money, you gotta have like a passion for it.
Totally, for sure.
Just like in architecture school when I was there, like why are the students doing all-nighters for the models? It's because they like it, you know. It's like you get into it, you get obsessed. So PRED, I would say was one.
I was about to say, it's really clear by how you tell that story how passionate you are. Like, just the fact that you enjoy doing it and you want to learn more. I feel like, especially in college, people are constantly uncovering things that they're not super passionate about. And it's kind of like process of elimination, I'd say here. But when you do find that one thing that you're actually interested in, putting in those extra hours, and I'll find myself excited to study for tests and things just because I like learning about specific topics.
So that's a good point. So when you realize that, when you're aware of that, you keep going.
Exactly.
Push the gas on that.
Totally,
So,
and that's so exciting.
Yeah.
So I guess with that, is there a tool or a resource that you use regularly that you can't imagine trading without?
So when I first started trading, you know, it's crazy. Things are moving really quickly these days. I'm talking about it's 2025. So 2019, I had up until 2021, I had a Microsoft Surface Pro,
Oh.
and that's how I traded.
Right.
That's a smaller computer, right?
Yeah, a tablet.
Yeah, it's
And-
basically a tablet.
And you put a keyboard. I had an extra monitor.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, now the tools have gotten so much better
Mm-hmm.
that I can't even imagine. Now I have like a full beast computer. I have this like crazy monitor setup. I can't trade without that. You know, when I travel, like my hands are pretty much tied because I need that thing. You know, so it's 4 vertical monitors, an Alienware Ryzen computer. I have it's water cooled, and I have like all these little softwares go on this thing called Trade Ideas for my scanner, Ask Edgar, which is AI for SEC filings.
Right.
So SEC filings now, you don't have to go and read them. You can use AI.
It's awesome.
So
I
use AI for filings. That's the main one.
Are you ever fearful though when doing that it's going to misinterpret things? Because I know that sometimes AI especially will oversimplify and like kind of miss the point in complex filings like that.
That's a very great point. So so what I do is I know how to do it manually as well.
Right. So you fact check it.
So so I have 3 different bots. I'm a huge this is what in my life, you know what I mean? So I have a Discord bot that sifts through the filings. I have a coder that goes through that knows this stuff better than I do, and he organized it for me. But there's like different versions of ChatGPT.
Right.
So
GPT-4.
all this stuff. You guys know it more than I do. But, like he set it up for me. So I have a Discord bot that uses one source, and then I have Ask Edgar, which uses another source, and then I have ChatGPT that uses. I know how to use ChatGPT. So I check it 3 different ways, and then there's another one called Dilution Tracker that I'll use Dilution Tracker and go through it manually if I have to. But it's all about, you know, triple checking, quadruple checking. You definitely need to do that.
I know even if I'm running something through like chat, I'll put it in different browsers and it will sometimes come up with like 3 totally different solutions. It's definitely good to do that extra homework to make sure that you're getting the right stuff.
That's something I got from school too. You know, back then you couldn't use, I don't know how Wikipedia is, you can't use online sources like a certain way. You gotta go go to the library, get the book.
Totally.
You know, so you just checking all your sources always.
Absolutely.
So you're in a very fast-paced and moving field with obviously a lot of technology that you use. So do you have any daily habits that you specifically use to keep you focused and innovative within your trading?
Yeah, so it's all about the routines, you know. So it's like, trading is you gotta, like, I picture it like it's like an Olympic sport, you know. I need a certain amount of sleep. I need to track my sleep. And I do a certain amount of exercise in the morning. My bed's got to be made, you know, a certain way. I have to have my Jura coffee with lion's mane, and I've taken Doc Amen. He's a brain doctor. He tailored a bunch of vitamins for me. I take all my brain vitamins. This is all before the market opens.
Right.
And then I go to my office and set my things up, you know. So, and as I'm walking to my office, I'm repeating the patterns that I'm gonna look for, you know, to myself. So it's almost like a football like a quarterback going into the game, like a Gators quarterback going into the game. Like you're rehearsing and you studied the film, and you know the patterns, you know the plays, and you're in the zone.
It's a ritual. It's
Yeah,
your mindset, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
that. And being aware of like any noise or outside disturbances that might interfere with your flow. Because you know, like if I get a call from someone and they try to bring some stress into my life, I'm like, I'll handle that later. You know, maybe in the weekend or something. Because the weekend the market's closed.
Yeah.
You know, so like because if I'm disturbed going into the trading day, I can press the button a little tiny bit too much this way or that way, and it can cause a lot of money to be moving around one way or another. So yeah, so it's all about just like the routines and keeping yourself in a flow state.
For sure. So we want to touch a little bit on your time here at UF. What were some of your memorable experiences here?
Okay, yeah, man. It brings back a lot of memories. So before April last year, I hadn't been back in like 15 years.
Wow.
And when I first came, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I reflected on how like UF was it left a big impact on me, you know. So, you know, it's just for me in the architecture school specifically was the culture in the architecture school was it's like a really immersive culture. Like you spend more time in the studios than in your apartment. You know,
My
so
roommate was an architecture major last year, and you could not be more correct.
yeah,
That's
seriously.
crazy.
Yeah, so but yeah, that was you know, just the culture and the way they reward you in certain ways for being part of that culture. So you keep going, you know, it's like you're encouraged. Also, I went to study abroad here in Vicenza. That was an amazing experience, yeah.
That's so cool.
And then being part of, you know, Delta Chi and stuff. Yeah, that was a cool experience, you know. And it was good to have like a balance. Even though architecture was so demanding, I still always had like you know, friends on campus. Really nice community here, so.
I feel like that's definitely part of like the UF culture. I feel like a lot of people are very social and outgoing and definitely find time in their schedules to do social activities, but also I feel like everyone, you know, gets up and does the work that they need to do. And I feel like that's what's one of the things I love so much about being a student here is I feel like it's such a motivating campus.
Totally.
Like the friends you're with are also hardworking, but then also really have fun with one another. And yeah, so now next question.
On another note, we want to get a little bit more about your journey and transition into becoming a market trader and an influencer. So what inspired you to start the Friendly Bear podcast, and how have you seen that brand grow and develop since then?
Yes, very good question. Okay, so 2016 and 2020, I'm learning on my own. Like, and to learn on your own is hard. It's like so for example, 2016, I was about to graduate with my master's from UCLA. And that's when I found out about stocks. So like right before I was about to graduate, I was like, because I was still working at the end of grad school before I graduated.
Right.
You know? So I started working right before. And I found out about stocks, like very vaguely.
Yeah.
So my first thought was, I have access to the business school at UCLA as a grad student. Let me go in there and see if they got things about stocks. I'll just learn on my own.
Totally.
And I went to the business school. There was nothing about stocks. Zero. They had in the front of the school, in front of the business school, they had the Coca-Cola booth of New York Stock Exchange from 1920 or something.
Yeah.
But they had no stock books.
So that was like it.
Yeah, that was all they had. They had like books of investing or something. I don't know. I just couldn't find anything about trading. So anyway, like I'm learning on my own, like absolutely, like the internet.
Yeah.
And I'm learning from books. I found like a couple of credible people online, and whatever they said, they weren't even that good, but they were credible. So what if they mentioned the book, I got that book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would read that book, and then inside that book, if they referred to someone or something in that book, I would go read something on that. It was like a rabbit hole.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but the main thing was I was finding real information, not fake information. There's a lot of fake stuff out there.
Right.
The gurus, the fake gurus. Don't ever go for these guys. But but yeah. So I was learning real stuff, and then I found podcasts that had real stuff. That I found, so I just learned them out. Now, in 2020, the market went volatile, and I made some money. But now, like, I hit a ceiling. That's like I couldn't find anything new to learn.
Right.
So I was like, man, dude, what am I gonna do? I want to grow. Like, I'm doing well. I want to grow. So what I did was, I didn't own many things. I was living out of my office basically, my shared office, and so what I did was I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Puerto Rico. I'm gonna go to Puerto Rico, and you know I'm gonna relocate and just network.
Right.
And I did that. We can get into that later. But then when I was there, I was like, okay, what's the best way to talk to all these traders here? I'm gonna start a podcast.
Awesome.
Let's start a podcast. And I was a big podcast aficionado. You know, I had all the podcasts. Yeah, so you guys know. So then I was like, you know what? Joe Rogan does like 3 hours and this and that. So I can do like an hour. And I had like 5 or 6 trading podcasts I was following. I was like, I'll take bits and pieces of their style and I'll make it my style.
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna call mine. So on a layover flight when I was in Miami, I was heading back to LA for like a weekend. I was in Miami. I said, you know what? I'm gonna call it the Friendly Bear. And in that layover for like 4 or 5 hours, I figured out how to do the RSS feed and I got a logo together.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna just focus on short selling because that's what I decided. I was like, I'll call mine the Friendly Bear so that people won't be so scared to talk to me.
Right.
Because if I'm just a short seller, they could be like, is this guy an evil short seller? Is he an angry short seller? Does he want my stock to go down? What is you know? But if I call it the Friendly Bear, it's more like welcoming.
Yeah.
So-
Creative name, Friendly Bear.
The Friendly Bear.
Bearish.
I love
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So and then what I did was the podcast worked better than I could ever imagine. So like all the traders around me, they were excited to come on for interviews. I got to know them, their stories one by one, and you know it's just such a good networking tool because it's like an organic way to speak to someone.
I love it.
You're not trying to like hey, you know, be creepy and like take someone's time.
No.
Yeah.
You know, you're adding.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed is people like to share their story.
Totally.
You know, and especially these were successful traders, and someone is wanting to listen.
Right.
And then you get a reputation of a nice podcaster,
Credibility,
credibility, and people spread the word, and people want to come on your podcast. And I did that, and that was my second level of education.
I love that.
It's like whenever I had questions about a certain way of trading or strategy, I just reached out to the person and I'd ask them. I prepare questions just like you guys do, and then I'd hand it to them, and like I get all my questions answered, and even though a lot of times I would be like so exhausted from just trading and work and all that,
Right.
I would like I didn't want to like not pay attention, you know. So this is such a great way to like learn, deep learning. So I would be like hyper focused and asking direct questions to the top person in the field, and that's like a one-on-one basis.
Yeah. It says a lot about the value that you provide of giving them a platform to inform your listeners, but also you in turn get that value of knowledge and all these from these professionals.
And you're also
Absolutely.
getting, by having these organic conversations, like experiential knowledge from someone else without having to actually have the experience yourself. So it's stuff you wouldn't find in books and things like that.
Exactly. But also with books, I read a lot of books. So one of the first thing of trading, one of the first ideas I had was I'm gonna email the authors.
Right.
And then I would because a lot of times in the books there's a lot of things that you kind of go like you read it but it didn't click right
We have
away.
more questions.
Totally.
Yeah, you have more questions, and then I could ask the author exactly what to clarify this. And it was a great way to learn. So so not only did I learn and improve, but also my network got better. And then in the future, the podcast, we had conferences in LA, and I got the YouTube channel now. It's the podcast was essential. Yeah, absolutely. And the university now too.
And I feel like you're like such a common theme in everything that you've been saying, is investing in yourself, making yourself your own brand, especially when you're talking about how there was, the lack of education in the formal classroom. You had to go out and do that on your own. And I think that is another message to our listeners on taking that time for yourself and being like, you know what, I'm going to step outside and maybe instead of, studying for 4 hours and then going to bed, like I'm going to study for my 4 hours and I'm going to also put in time for myself. And making yourself your own brand is something that is so special and so it breaks the status quo. And I think that that's why a lot of times things like that aren't taught in classrooms because it is out of the normal or out of the, regular pathway that people may go. But you found such success in that. And that's because it is, an exception to the normal. And it's something that more people should be able to talk about, but you just don't have that community. So you building that community and being such a, person who's bringing it on, starting the short selling space. That's why so many people were so excited to come onto your podcast and talk because it is something that is new to be, talked about in the social media space. So really do admire that and starting that.
I found that niche of short, like it's not
niche.
So you know, there's no podcast focusing on short selling.
No.
So yeah.
And
I
so
love that.
really starting that space is something that I think is why you found a lot of success as well.
And I wanted to add something to the conversation you were having with us about the resources that you had in college. You talked a little bit about how UCLA didn't have a lot, especially when it came to investing. And something really cool about the University of Florida is that we actually offer our students like free Bloomberg terminals.
They're so
Really?
Yeah, free Bloomberg terminals. I think we have around eight.
For every student?
So
grad
so
students, I think.
so we have one in Huff Hall, which has 3 Bloomberg terminals for grad students, and we have one in Marston for all students, along with one in Midwest for all students.
Wow.
And that also allows students to get the accreditation and certification for the Bloomberg Market Concepts for free. So it's a very cool program that, UF is super
very cool.
unique in offering their students, because that's the most, I think we had a little bit of a discussion about the most up-to-date financial knowledge in markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have to pay thousands of dollars for that,
It's not cheap.
education,
Yeah.
and those Bloomberg terminals. So it's a really cool thing.
I just got trained on it yesterday, actually.
There you go.
The amount of information that is in those terminals that you can't find on the internet is unbelievable. They create webs of suppliers and everything. It's remarkable. So very cool.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
So I guess off of that, I know you mentioned your time that you spent abroad. So I guess we can go ahead and talk about that. What are some insights that you gained from that global immersion and working with people and meeting people and
Yeah, so I did so the summer of 06, I went to study it was the first time I left the country.
Wow.
So before this experience, I'm a Miami guy.
Right.
It's like I'm just born and raised in Miami, and I hadn't left until I came to Gainesville. I had never left past Broward County.
Wow.
I'm from Broward.
That was just north.
It's a whole world there. And it's
Yeah. So actually, I went to Orlando for Disney World.
I'm from Orlando, so
Yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go.
But I was just in my own bubble. I think about how a lot of ignorance, So so then when I came to Gainesville, it was it was the first new place for me. But then when I went, 2006, I went to Paris for the first time,
Wow.
and just to see, that was a culture shock for
That's
me,
awesome.
and it was a good culture shock. So and then I was once I had that experience, the next time there was another study abroad in my senior year, at Vicenza, Italy. I went for it. And it was a whole semester.
That's awesome.
And it was. I got to go to so many different countries: Italy, Germany, France. I went to Egypt, Greece. I just got after that. I got to get cultured. Because once you experience that, you want more. You're like, wow, this is great. I got a lot to learn, a lot of culture here.
And I think you even carried that, through your career when you went to Puerto Rico when you felt stuck. You were like, you know what, here's a new community that I can meet, and I think you carry that global immersion of working with the world's top leaders at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, just being a global person, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna. Puerto Rico's not a big deal. I'm just going to go over there. So for a lot of people, they have that limiting belief of oh, it's another country. country. Actually, Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. pretty much. So, but it seems so unfeasible or whatever. But actually, it's not that hard. Like, you just go and do it. But at the same time, I didn't have like a family and stuff too. I didn't have to relocate that much. So, yeah.
And I'm sure the perspective that you gained just by like seeing and physically being there was invaluable. I mean, at the end of the day, I studied abroad this past summer too, and just to like hear the way other people think and live their lives, I mean, it was truly remarkable to note those differences.
Yeah.
So very
Absolutely.
cool.
So going back to short selling, what's your process for spotting opportunities in short selling? When is your opportunity arises itself and you're like, this is something that I would want to get involved with?
Okay, so I have so Business Insider reached out to me about a year ago, no, a year and a half ago, and they were so, you know, the way I trade is pretty complex. So I spoke to them for a whole week, and this one journalist, like breaking down, she wanted to understand everything. She wanted to get it right, and she broke it down the best I've ever seen it. So she broke it down to like 10, a 10-point checklist, like a.
I saw the bullet points.
Yeah. Well, I've added like 2 more since then, and it took her a week to do this, and they verified all my stats and everything. So like it's legit. So, you know, so she compared it to a pre-flight checklist, like what a pilot does.
Right.
You know, so like you're checking everything because you know, plane is it's very important that, you know, everything goes right. So it's the same thing approaching trading like that. So like I have this like 10 or 11 point criterias now, and I know them just like a quarterback. Let's say we're in Gainesville and I went to school and Tim Tebow was here. It's like Tim Tebow going through his playlist, you know. So you know, he knows like, and thing is when he's getting blitz from the big Ohio State guys, you know, and he's got to think on the fly. So it's about like rehearsing so much and practicing and knowing your plays, but also like being able to perform in a high pressure environment.
Yeah,
you know, so you gotta make the right decisions in the high pressure. So like I know those 9 bullet points. Okay, like under 2 million. I know what I'm not gonna trade. That's like not 2 million float stocks. I don't trade Chinese stocks. I don't trade certain category stocks.
Right.
It's nothing against the Chinese or anything. It's just their stocks. Statistically, they are the most manipulated.
Right.
I don't want to deal with them. So I stay away from them because it's dangerous. And I don't want to go homeless. You know what I mean? So with short selling, the risk is infinite.
Totally.
Yeah, technically, because numbers go to infinity, but they go down to 0.
Yeah.
So if I short sell, there was one short sell, for example. If I short sell the last Chinese one I shorted like 2 years ago, shorted $10, and it ended up going to like $300. So I can lose, my accounts can go negative.
Right.
And then if they go negative, I have to take, you know, it's very bad. So, but yeah, I know what I'm not gonna trade. Like certain outstanding float stocks. A float is the amount of it's a supply of a stock. It's another topic of supply and demand. You know, but I know the float. I know what institutional ownership. Anything over 40%, I'm not touching. A high debt stock. I don't trade high debt stocks. High debt is if the debt supersedes the market cap by an exponential amount. I have a certain number for that. I know. I don't touch biotech stocks anymore. I don't touch, you know. So like I know, boom, 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 boom,
Right.
and then like, and then then I have a scanner, a set of scanners, and anything over 100% on the day, it jumps on my scanner. Then as it jumps on my scanner, I'm going through my list, and it's all in sync, you know. And it's like, then once you get on my radar and you cross all the checklists, now I go and I use AI to go through the filings, and I want to see the dirt in the filings, because sometimes actually AI, even though there's some discrepancies with the filings, it actually does a better job than a human, because filings are so tedious, like lawyer language.
I was gonna say that most of the SEC filings follow like a distinct structure, right? Like it goes over the company's market cap, how much they did in revenue, or how much they have in cash flow. So things like that. It's since, you know, AI is using the algorithms and the data that it already has, it can almost pinpoint very precisely exactly what it's looking for.
Yeah, and the AI is getting smarter. So like for example,
Every filing.
when I was starting out, I had to go in with Control F. Control F for a common one would be, I would look for the lockup expirations.
Right.
So when a company comes on the market, the insiders have to wait like 6 months in order to sell.
Right.
So I would try to find when that day is. And I have to put Control F, lock up. And now I have to play around with it because they play around with it.
Totally.
So they'll put lock dash up,
Oh.
lock separate word up, or lock up together. Which one did they use? I have to go sift through it.
Right.
Now AI can
That's
figure
what
it
you're
out.
looking for.
AI doesn't. If you can't play that game with AI is gonna find it.
Yeah.
If you put a dash or an underscore or whatever, AI is gonna find it. You know, so especially if you use multiple AI.
Right.
You know, so yeah. But yeah, there's multiple levels, and then the final level, the final boss is AI. You know, going through the filings.
I love that.
You go through the and then all this takes me, believe it or not, like 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. And you only have 2 minutes to sort of stop.
Yeah. So ideally, yeah, exactly. Timing is everything. So,
Well, there you
but
go.
that takes practice. It's just like Tim Tebow, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing these days, but Tim Tebow is the other thing on the fly. He's getting blips, you know. So
It's a little like organized, very organized, like a little bit spontaneity at the same time, like
Yeah.
trying to figure out which ways to play it and what formulas to use.
I was about
But
to
you know all the
say,
formulas and you have all those
Yeah,
possibilities.
exactly.
And I'm sure you can have a lot of adaptability with that too, and just like knowing your process, but also being able to react if something
Yeah.
doesn't go exactly as your checklist would
that
outline.
comes from experience.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
the gut feeling.
Yep,
You know, so-
totally.
Short selling can definitely be controversial at times. Why did you get attracted to it, and what do you have to say about those misconceptions?
So it's there's a lot of misconceptions with a lot of different things just in life, you know. Like look at the media. You gotta be careful what you listen to in the media. You know what I mean? It's just they have an agenda. They're trying to. You ever see those clips of all the announcers? They saying certain keywords, and they're all saying it at the same time.
Yeah, buzzwords, yeah.
It's all scripted and it's all like, yeah. So it's like they want to feed you an agenda. So as a trader, you got to be as objective as possible, because if you fall for someone else's agenda or you're thinking with emotion or something, you're gonna lose money. So I never been the person that listens to the crowd, but with so for me, I saw one guy on the internet that I was studying after looking at all these rabbit holes and stuff. I found one guy, and he turned around $10,000 to $1 million, and it was legit. And I was like, okay, so this is real. We have the guy. I saw it as like the guy that broke the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
He proved it where you can do it. And then within a few months, like 10 people.
Everyone
did it.
else.
Yeah. So that was once I saw that, I was like, okay, it's possible. And even if I don't go to $1 million, I can do like an architecture salary, hopefully. You know, let's see.
Yeah.
You know? But so he used only short selling. Because short selling is a higher probability strategy, because what you do is the gist of it, the reason why it is high probability is because I'm only going after scam companies. Like we already know 90% of businesses fail in their first year or something.
Right.
So like now 90% of like stocks are businesses, and a lot of them are not even, they're just shell companies.
Right.
They're just fake companies. So these are like whatever moves they have, it usually comes down. So it made sense to me. Then also it made sense. I was studying these pump and dump patterns where they pump it over several days. This is like when the Wolf of Wall Street movie came out, actually.
Right.
Like 2016. This is when it started. And the pump, it was just clear to me. It made sense. So see, the market's up and down, and Apple does this, and technical this and that. I mean, I know how to do it now. I understand. But as a new person starting out in 2016, that was really hard for me to comprehend. However, I was like, oh, it makes sense. So this guy marches it up,
There's
and
a
then
pattern
they dump
to
it.
follow.
Yeah, and then it's a scam, and there's a bad guy involved, and I didn't like the bad guys, you know. So I was like, because I had this chip on my shoulder. And I guess it's always going to be there, but it was even more way back then. I was like, man, I was really bitter. I was like, I spent 10 years in school. I had a brain operation. Like life just really giving me a hard time. And then this scammers out here making millions and millions of dollars off of this scam, you know. And I was like, this is messed up. And and I saw myself as like, I could have been a person, or I like a grandma or something, falls for this scam and loses a lot of money. So it's another version of that stock I was mentioning earlier, the PRED in the beginning. It gave me a drive to learn more about it. And even though, like for example, I don't do much of that anymore, it gave me a drive to push forward and learn as much as I can about that pattern.
Yeah.
So that pattern became clear, and now it's like shorts. Like I know when it starts to turn, it was a clear pattern. I call it the first red day.
Right.
And then I was like, that's a good pattern to short. So if it's a scam, also, it was hard for me to buy like a scam, but to short it made much more sense. And I learned about activist short selling. So activist short selling, these are like activists that are just like doing the right thing, or like trying to do what the SEC is not doing. SEC is like the police in the market, but they're understaffed. They can't do everything. They go after like the big fish, like the $1 billion companies. So like they don't really spend time on the small companies. So that's why there's so many scams. So even the Wolf of Wall Street, he wasn't like a big player. Like the SEC, they caught on to him late. He was doing it for so many years. But because they're going out, even now to these days, they have $1 billion companies and even $1 trillion companies. Imagine if there's like a $500 million semi scam out there. They gotta investigate that. Even if they find out it's not a scam, they have to investigate it. That takes time and energy. So like there's a lot of scams that go through in the smaller stocks. So I saw them, and I knew about this back then. I was like, oh, the SEC is understaffed. They know it. Like I gotta be like vigilante justice. So it vibed with me, and then also seeing that guy turn 10,000 to $1 million, I was like, okay, so now I'm sold. Like I'm just going with this. And I saw a quote from Bruce Lee at the time, and I still always remember it. Like he's afraid. He's not afraid of the guy that's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but he's afraid of the guy that practiced one kick 10,000 times. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick here. And with success in any business or whatever, you have to have like a vision. So I was like, I'm very proud of myself from back then. I was like, I'm just gonna stick to short selling and just master it. I'm not gonna waste my time even thinking about longing it. Now I think about longing, but going the other way. But like, I just spent the 10,000 hours learning that. Yeah.
I love that.
Perfect. So looking into the future, what excites you about trading? And are there any upcoming projects or goals that you're especially excited about?
Yeah, so in the future, so I have the Friendly Bear University now, and I'm going for reducing that failure rate with traders. So like, there's a high failure rate with traders. People don't know where to start, just like I didn't know. It's a 90+% failure rate with retail traders. Most people see it as like it's a gambling or something, because people approach it the wrong way. But if you approach it with rigor and study and respect, like a career, the results you have a higher chance to succeed. Just like when you graduate from UF, maybe you're guaranteed a job, but
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But you're at a higher odds to land a position in your field. You're decent. You put some effort. So, but it's not a 90% chance you're not gonna get a job. That's crazy. So like with trading education, it should be the same way. It should be like, if you put enough time and energy into it, you can make something of yourself like that, or at least get financially literate to make some of your own investments or whatever. So in the future, I want to make a bigger impact on the whole overall failure rate, reducing it to like, it should be like a 50-50 shot. If you whether you want to succeed in it or not. So I want to make an impact there. Also, I want to hit new levels as a trader. Constantly I'm hitting new levels. I used to go, there's no limit. There's no limit for that, and just make an impact. I want to get more involved with architecture and use like my success and my resources for good things. So
Right.
yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome, and I feel like that's a really great place to end. But throughout this episode, we just thank you so much for sharing your story as well as just sharing so much advice. Like I feel like even I can apply things, we may not be in the same situation, but I can apply a lot of those same themes that you talked about to my everyday life of being able to be comfortable in uncomfortable, high pressure situations, to be able to put the education in and really put the time in and invest in yourself is something that is so inspiring, something that we're doing here at ChompCast and trying to build a brand for ourselves. And so I think that so many people will truly take what you've said and will take it to heart. So yeah, I think, we talked about the future and we're really excited for everything that you're going to continue to do and grow. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or anything else that
I forgot to mention, I have a book coming out too.
Oh.
Like 6 months, a year, so
There you go.
a publisher has it, so it's,
awesome.
I can publish it like tomorrow, but they have it, so now.
Well, let us know and we'll give the information in the,
it's good,
details of the episode.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out, guys. Okay, well, thank you again for being on here. I really
Absolutely,
appreciate
thank
it.
you guys for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right, perfect.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
watching.
watching. And remember to tune in next week, same place, same time.
ChompCast.